Hey everyone, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on this not so bad a day, weather for February. It's been quite lovely today. We had some sunshine up here. So yeah, hi. So have you been re-watching and having a look at all of the lives that have gone past? It's something that I think you'll gain so much more from it if you keep watching over and over, and then the nuggets that don't jump out at you will jump out on the second and third time that you watch it. And also, please share the lives, share the old links as well. So that someone's life will be changed through the information that we are sharing, and it's free. Wonderful. So we had the wonderful Coach Debs last week. And tonight we have got Chiesa back again from the Generalist Company discussing income streams and business startups. In fact, it's called Income Streams Pioneering Business Startups. Now, we're going to have questions at the end, as usual, and our tech team will be posting the Slido link so that you can pre-post and queue your questions for our guest. So next week, we've got the award-winning business coach, Janice Beckles, and she'll be sharing cash flow strategies. That is really one not to be missed. And then on the 26th, so the end of February, by God, hasn't February gone past quicker already? We're already halfway through. So on the 26th, we're going to have what does the Bible say about money and wealth? Oh, there's been such a flurry of activity. We've got Pastor Triumph Gourbardia joining us for that one. We've got Light London leader Nicola Araimi joining us. We've got Delissa joining us from the Bible Brook at the Brook. It's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that. Just sharing with fellow Christians and with fellow faith people what the Bible actually says. You know, we really need to learn how to acknowledge the issues that we are facing. If you don't acknowledge the issues, then you're not actually engaging in the battle, so that we could then strategize, so that we could know what Abraham did to gain his wealth, what Solomon did to gain his wealth. It's all there in between the pages of that great book we call the Bible. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I am going to jump straight in because this live is we're going to try to stick to the hour, because at 8 p.m. we actually have the leaders of the Brook House doing a love clinic. Oh, wow. So I'm up for that one. So I'm going to introduce Chiesa right now from the Generalist Company. Give him a hand. Hey, how you doing? Can't hear you.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Oh, wow. What a rookie mistake from me. Sorry about that.
It's all good, mate. It's all good. So I'm going to hand right over to you.
Sweet. So I'm going to jump right in because I'm conscious of time. So, yeah, as it was introduced, this live is called Income Streams Pioneering Business Startup. So I'm going to be talking to you about how I started my business, my last business, the merch company, and the business I'm working at now, the Generalist Company, and the journey I took to build it to what was over $250,000 in annual sales per year by the time I was 26 years old. So please ask any questions in the Slido. We'll be keeping an eye out for them, and I will do my best to answer any questions that I have towards the end or at the end of this presentation. So I'll just get started then. So a little bit about me. I'm a former Lewisham young mayor. I'm an entrepreneur, marketer, and a parallel merchandise specialist. I'm from Southeast London, Lewisham. So any of my South Londoners here, put something in the chat so I know who you are. And my journey in entrepreneurship actually started when I left school. So I was one of those kids that I left school, tried to get a job in retail, didn't work out for me. Realized why several months later when I looked at my CV and my date of birth was actually the current year. And I was like, okay, no wonder they think I was born yesterday, literally. So obviously I'm not going to get a job like that. But what I learned about was entrepreneurship. I learned how to take the skills that I had and turn them into an offer, turn them into an income stream, so that whether or not people would give me a job at the age of 16 when I left school, I would still be able to make a living. So that is kind of a short version of what I done. I left college, I left school, went to college, did a BTEC National Diploma in Art and Design, did AS Media Studies in the first year, EPQ in the second year, and then went to university, to the Montfort University. I did graphic design. Before I went to university, I became Lewisham Young Mayor, which I ran a whole marketing campaign for, and I won the campaign out of 25 candidates, which was great. Went to university, and then when I was in university in my second year is when I officially started my first business, which was a t-shirt printing and merchandise company. Since then, I've learned a whole ton of skills pertaining to entrepreneurship, marketing. That's what's evolved me into what is now called a generalist, where I have at least a little bit of skills in every area of business, whether it's vision, strategy, marketing, sales, operations, hiring, finance. I've had to do it, so I've learned those skills over time. So that's just some context and introduction into who I am, what I've done, where I've been. So now I'm a co-founder at the Generalist Company, and we help startups to grow and scale their business by generating strategies and executing them for them. So we come in, we do the thinking for you, we figure out what the problem is, create a solution, and then we go and do it. And we do that very, very fast. Now, why start a business? For me, it was several things. I didn't like the limitations of only having one way or one conventional way of earning a living, i.e. go to school, get a degree, get a job. That I have nothing against that, but for me, like I just had way more ideas than that would allow me to express. And also I felt very boxed in by that model of work, by that model of existence. How can I have all of these? How can I be bursting with all of these ideas, all these capabilities? I used to do music production, I used to perform, I used to I used to paint. I used to do hand drawings for people. My first hustle was like taking someone's picture and then hand drawing a sketch on A3 paper and then framing it up for them. That was my first hustle. How can I have all these ideas and I'm limited to just what a job wants me to do? And then even when I try and get the job, these people are not replying to me. Like it just I don't know. It just felt like a violation. Really, I was just like, I've got so much I can get done. So for me, it was uncapped income. If I get this right, sky's the limit. I can have control over my time and what I do, and how much I earn. Endless opportunities as well. You just never know where your business can take you if you get it right. You'd be so surprised. Like I've worked with, some celebrities. I've done loads of work with, musicians, YouTubers, etc. that have millions or hundreds of thousands of followers. Companies like Warner Music or Printworks London, which is a massive venue in South London. Spotify, YouTube. So I got to do that from a business that I started in my early 20s. Time, money, and freedom, and relationship freedom. So I like to be able to spend my time in the way I want to spend it on things that I believe are important and to give birth to ideas that I believe need to exist. I've kind of in my younger years, I was a lot more willing to take risks as well. So when it came to money, my viewpoint in my 20s was, do you know what? If there's a decade to screw up my life, it's probably now. So let me go and try things now. Let me experiment. Let me gain the skills. Let me go through the ups and downs now so that I can have a wider skill set, which is kind of the stage I'm getting to now. And you get to choose who you work to. If I get a client and I'm just not feeling it, I don't want to work with them. I can just be like, this ain't gonna work. Like it's not you, it's me. I can do that if I want to. And you grow in character as well. If you want to become, a better person, one of the ways to do it, if you have good intentions, is to start a business, because you suddenly become responsible not just for yourself, but for your clients, your stakeholders, your suppliers, loads of people. And you go through things that force you to grow in character, that force you to keep a level head, to stay cool headed, to deal with your challenges, your own personal challenges as well as external challenges. So that's why I start a business. Now, I hope I'm not going too fast, by the way. So please remember to ask any questions in the Slido link as we go. Right. So getting stuck in why start a business and how I grew my business to over 250K by the age of 26. So just for context now, I'm in my early 30s now, so that was a little while ago for me. But I will cover this through, I'll cover this through 8 steps, right? So a high level view of how I've done it was finding my secret sauce. So it was really important to really get to understand, what am I uniquely good at? What am I better at doing than at least 80% of the population? What do I have? Where do I have a superior skill set, knowledge base, or set of expertise? Identifying my ideal customer, creating a compelling offer. I'll go through them one by one. So, like I said, with creating with my secret sauce, I really took the time to understand where my strengths are, where my weaknesses lie. Now, very few people know about clothing, textiles, printing, and merch better than me. Very few people in proportion to the population of the world, right? And I built up that skill set because when I was 16 and I left school, I learned how to design my own t-shirts, and then I just got busy. I created my designs, I printed them up, I got my vinyl cutter, I got someone to teach me how to use it, and I created an income stream from that. And I did that for over a decade. So I got really, really good. Then when I was 19, 20 years old, I learned how to become a middleman, which meant I had to learn more specialist skills along the way. I had to learn about screen printing, DTG printing, embroidery, etc. All these specialist terms in garment printing industry. And then I also learned how to forge connections with suppliers that would give me favorable terms, and then find clients who needed their services and then match the two. And then I now own those relationships. But that's because I had an asymmetrical knowledge base and skill base to my clients. I had a superior knowledge base and skill base to my clients. So when I found that over time, okay, I actually can't take for granted that I know how to do this thing better than most people. And there's people that need it done that can't do it as well as I can without me. So that's where I can fit in. And a lot of you will have that as well. A lot of you are far better, cooks or chefs than I am. A lot of you are far better at, some, forms of pastoral care or working with children. You're better at something than 80% of the population. So I'd encourage you to make a list of what those things are, because that might be your business. And the gap is learning how to turn that secret sauce into a business. The next thing was really identifying who my ideal customer is. Now, again, using the example of, I had a merch company. I used to make t-shirts. Like, I'm wearing a hoodie that I made right now, right? It's got a big print on the back, and this jacket one of my colleagues made for his clothing brand. We're really good at making stuff, but all types of people need stuff made, right? What we had to really nail down is, what is the profile of the person or the business that needs my skill set the most? Who does my skill set fit? When I did this analysis, what I learned was that the people that I tend to work with best are people who I call clothing entrepreneurs. They're people that want to create high quality clothing products that they can then sell at a profit. That could be an individual starting a business. That could be a business that already has a following. So, for instance, TBP merch would have been a perfect client for me, right? Why? Because there's a bag of people at TBP who go to Flames, they go to Convocation, etc. There's an audience there. And what I possessed was the skill set and knowledge on how to turn the demand for merchandise into an income stream. Why was that beneficial for that customer? Because now they can take advantage of having a huge audience or a sizable audience and turn it into an income stream without having to do any additional work. They just need to let us come in and do our thing. So that was an ideal sweet spot for me. There's other customers I could have served, like construction companies. They might have 100 people working on a site and they need some high-vis vests and helmets. There might be chain restaurants. It's another customer profile. But those weren't my ideal. My ideal was people who are selling clothing constantly. Why? Because if you sell out and you're doing well, you're going to come back because you need more, because your business is operating on what I do. So really being super clear on who my audience was made it a lot easier for me to grow my business, and I'll get into that. I'll get into that shortly as well. I'm not going to give that away just yet. The next thing, so I have my secret sauce. I know who my best customers are, and I know through data as well, because anytime I get inquiry forms on my website that I had, I would ask people what industry they're in, and 75% of them were clothing brands, right? So I had the data on it across 800 inquiries. It was undeniable. So it wasn't guesswork. The next thing is a compelling offer. Why would you use my merch company as opposed to anyone else? There's plenty of places you can get a t-shirt made or a hoodie made. So why come to me? Well, the first thing was the quality. I put a lot of time into building up our online presence so that you could see the quality of our product and we can build a reputation. So you knew that if you're a clothing brand, you would come here as opposed to the sort of bog standard mum and pop shop who's going to create a, sort of a less than satisfactory clothing product that you're not proud to sell for, a decent amount for a profit, right? You would come to me because you want to create something that is really on point. Also, you come to me because we could do more complex projects. We can create all kinds of garments. We can source products and print on them, or we can custom make them. So this is a custom made jacket that was made in, I think, Pakistan or China. I'll have to ask my colleague. We can create, the Velcro patches, and we can do all sorts of things that a standard print shop can't do. Fast turnarounds as well. So there was times where people would come to me and say, I need 400 t-shirts in 5 days, and I'd get out my time machine and make it happen. Custom labeling. We could make woven labels and sew them into the inside neck. So these are small nuanced things that other print shops weren't offering in one package that made us different. So that's why, and who needs all of those things in one package? Well, it will be people trying to sell high quality clothing products, right? So then that's where we came in, a compelling offer. You can go and get 100 t-shirts cheaper from somewhere else. And when people would say that to me, they say, "Oh, well, we can just get these done down the road." I'd say, "Well, why haven't you? Why are you talking to me for? You should go there. It's fine. I'm not for you. It's okay." So that was it. Secret sauce, ideal customer. Really getting clear on who is it that you're serving. Your ideal customer is not everyone. If you say it's everyone, it's no one. A compelling offer. What is it that you do, especially or differently, that is more valuable to that ideal customer? The next step was learning how to attract customers. So it's all good if I know what I'm good at, if I know who I want to sell to, and if I know what I'm trying to sell. But if I can't find people to sell to, then it's a pointless exercise. Because without the be all and end all is that without customers, you don't have a business. At best, you've got a glorified hobby. There's so many business cards I've collected over the years, and they look nice and pretty, but it's like, are you selling? Are you buying? Is anyone buying? And once you've really got clear on what you're good at, who your customer is, and what you're selling, the next thing you really need to establish is, where do you find them? Where do you find groups of people, or how do you get the attention of groups of people who want or need what you're offering and will recognize that you're the best person for the job that they can find? Now, for me, what really worked beyond word of mouth was Instagram ads, right? My audience was people who I call clothing entrepreneurs, people who were, interested in streetwear, fashion, that sort of thing. Where do they live? Instagram. Why? Because Instagram is a very visual platform. So I learned how to create paid advertising. I learned how to create paid ads that would reach thousands of people very quickly in a very scalable way, and then attract them to my Instagram page. And then when those people would find my Instagram page, they would then scroll. There was a whole journey that they went through. I really planned out, like, what experience are you going to have between not knowing who I am and needing me, and then knowing who I am and recognizing that you need me. And for me, that was Instagram, because that's where my audience lived. So I learned how to run really compelling Instagram ads that got people's attention. It directed them to our Instagram page. Then typically what would happen is they would scroll, they would look down the page, and they'd see comments, and they would see really nice photos of our work, and they'd see videos, and me demonstrating how I did certain things, and educational content as well. Sometimes you don't always need to be selling people something. Sometimes you just need to talk about what you do. I would just talk about things like how to create a t-shirt mock-up for your brand, because a lot of people who want to start clothing brands just didn't know how to do that. And I took for granted that actually this comes quite easily to me. This is content. So I would then demonstrate that loads of people trust us. that we can produce good quality work, and we know what we're talking about, all before they've even spoken to me. So they'd come to our page, then they'd send a DM, and then we would encourage them to fill out an inquiry form, and then we'd either call them or email them back, give them a quote, close the deal. But that's how we attracted customers. We just kept creating content that they found useful, that made us personable, and built trust. And we did that over time. And I built the page to about 17,000 followers by year year three. And that was my thing. I kept it simple. I found one channel that worked, one channel that just brought me customers, and I just pressed on it for years. It was as simple as that. It was like switching on a tap. So next, what I call finding a starving crowd. So kind of leading on from the last point, once I had found out what I was really good at, learned who my customer was, created an offer that was compelling to them, and then learn how to attract them, I had to really focus on a starving crowd. And a starving crowd, what I mean by that is, imagine an event that we've recently. Imagine we were all at Convocation or Elder Juanita Bynum's event, right? And it's late, and barely any of the shops are open, but there's a hot dog stand there. So if you want water or food before you get in the car or the train to go home, you need to eat something, right? Well, that hot dog stand owner now has a starving crowd. Now he's got a queue of people waiting to buy from him. That means that he can charge, almost what he wants. He can charge probably above market. So where a bottle of water would normally be £1, it's now £3 because no one else is selling at this time. Where a hot dog would normally be £3, it might be £8 because, dude, you're hungry and it's 11:45 p.m. Like, what else are you gonna do? Or when you go to festivals or places like that, what festivals often do is they say, well, look, like you can only really get food from the stands that are in there. You can't leave, or if you leave, you can't get back in. So you need to pay. Sorry, man, like rice, stew chicken, rice and peas are £15 now. Sorry, like it is what it is. But when you've got, what I mean by a starving crowd is the people that you're selling to have an urgent need and they don't have many options or solutions. So in my case, a starving crowd would be someone who comes to me and says, I need 400 t-shirts and I need them done yesterday or in 4 days. And now, because of that time element, you've got less options available, and I can then charge express fees, not because I'm greedy, but because you want me to make a promise and a commitment to you, which is a risk for me. If I make a guarantee to you that you're going to have something on a certain day and it doesn't work out for some reason, then my neck is on the line. So I can charge express fees. And then my thing can be, look, you don't actually have time to go and shop around. So this is my quote, this is my price. And you decide what you're going to do about it. And oftentimes they would go ahead, and I'd stick an extra 30% on. And my job was to make sure that it doesn't cost me more than normal or much more than normal to get the job done. But if something happens and I need to put the items in a courier, or if there's a fire that I need to put out, I will be covered so that I can then deliver on time. But regardless, because people would come to me and they need something urgently for whatever reason, i.e. they've got an event or they're going on tour, starving, absolutely starving, famished. And it was great because then it's not even really a negotiation. It's like, here's a solution. It's your decision whether to go forward with the solution or not. And for me, what really worked with finding a starving crowd was just building the brand over time. Because when you've got trust, and the thing is, trust is the gap between people deciding to buy from you or not, or to do anything with you. You might have a good proposition, but if people don't trust you, then they won't do anything about it. Then you start to get ghosted. They curve you. They don't want to. They'll start to give you excuses. It just gets really dark. So that's one of the things I learned how to do very, very well. Attract people who need me urgently. If you need me urgently and you need me now, and I save the day for you, even if you don't come back to me as a customer, you're going to talk about me to other people. So that's that. That's what I learned how to do very well. Just learn how to deliver. moving on to the next step, building up systems and operations. I couldn't build that business on my own. I couldn't be one person doing what I was doing. So what I needed to learn how to do was a few things. One was build step-by-step systems that I could use to really operationalize the business and make it streamlined. Because if you don't have a system or a process, if you don't have a step-by-step, this is how we do things. So for instance, for me, it was give the customer a quote, prepare a job spec for them to approve. Why? Because when you've approved the job spec, we both got on file, we've both got on record, we've got an audit trail for you, of you saying that you've agreed to X, Y, and Z, these products being delivered and these services being provided. That way, it protects us as a business from people saying that, well, people making claims that we delivered something they didn't ask for, because it's all on record. And it also protects us from our suppliers screwing up, because we can say to them, well, look, like what you've produced isn't what's on the spec, so you have to produce it. It's not coming out of our pocket, right? Having that step-by-step process of quote, payment, job spec, sample approval, production, delivery. That was it. Made it easy for us to explain to our customers what we do and how we work. And it also made it easy to train staff members coming in. Because if you've got a step-by-step process, you can now turn that into what's called an SOP, a standard operating procedure. You can video record them, you can write them up, and you can train team members on them. And ideally, you want people that have at least half a brain. That, when I say half a brain, I just mean like a skill set or they have a way of thinking that it makes them teachable and they have a disposition towards being able to perform that certain operational task. By having a system, it meant that talking to customers about what we do is easier, and it meant training staff is easier. And then building operations around that became more scalable, because so long as you just follow these steps, then things should go well. And if something's not going well, we measure it. We measure what's our percentage of, out of 100 items, how many items are defective. And ideally, we want that percentage to go down over time. Or how quickly are we doing orders? How profitable are we? But by building systems, you can create structure. You can create a way that allows you to really become an entrepreneur as opposed to a business owner or a self-employed person. You want to, there's this term of you want to work on the business and not in the business. And the way that you get away from working in the business, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs, founders, small business owners end up in, they end up in the cycle of doing everything, spinning the plates. They're on the hamster wheel all the time. The way you get out of that is one of the ways is through building robust systems. A system is going to allow you to create additional capacity where, I have a friend that runs an events company and he runs like 16 events every weekend. How does he do that? He's one man. He can't be in 16 places. It's because he has systems and operations. So I learned how to condense my process into a very simple format that I could then teach other people, so that I could free myself to do other things in the business, i.e. growth. So once you've got your secret sauce, once you've got your ideal customer, a compelling offer, a way to get those customers, and a way to get people who actually want to do business with you and need you, you need to create a scalable way for your business to deliver to them. There's a difference between you being the person to deliver and your business being the operation that delivers. It's one thing for you to be a really good chef or a good cook. It's another thing for you to be able to organize an event where 120 people are being served food in a timely manner. That's a different skill set entirely. So, by the way, any questions, please use Slido. Any comments, please put them in the chat. I would love to know how I'm doing, and if this is helpful. If this has been helpful so far, please put a thumbs up in the chat so I know. I really want to make sure that you're getting value from this, and we've got time to answer questions at the end. So next, recruiting an A team, because you can have all the systems and operations in the world, but you on your own cannot do it, right? You on your own can only go so far. And I remember hitting the point. I remember the first time I did £25,000 in sales in 1 month. And it was like, what was strange about that for me was, the year before I was really just figuring things out. And then I found this biting point that just really worked. It was running the ads, getting an inquiry form, doing a quote, closing the deal. I was like, oh, it works. Yes, this is great. Bear in mind, I was a year back into living. I was a year into living back in London because I lived in Leicester. I did my master's at university, and then I came back to London. So within a year, I'd come back to London. I was figuring this thing out. I was still this kid in my mum's in my mum's house. I was living in my mum's house in a bedroom in there. I was just like, this is mental. Like, how did I figure out how to make that sort of money as this little black boy from South London in his mum's house? This is mad. And I've obviously got something here that people want. I've figured something out, and I can't. I want to grow more, but I can't do it on my own. This is too much work. So then I looked at starting to recruit people. So I identified what job roles I needed to create, and really how you do that is you look at where the bottlenecks are in your operation. So when you hit a certain point in your growth journey, you're going to hit a point where you're going to struggle to grow more. It's going to cause more stress, and it's really going to test you and the business. And and all of a sudden you're working 14-hour days, and your phone's going off left, right, and center. Your phone is doing backflips. You're having dreams about emails. It really starts to get mad. And you need to offload it. But before you hire anyone, you need to figure out a few things. One is you need to figure out where your bottleneck is, right? A bottleneck is a point of constriction, where an operation is being slowed down. There's one operation that's slowing down the rest of the business. So for instance, an example of a bottleneck is if you're delivering a product or service and you only have the capacity to deliver 10 units of that product or service within a week, right? But now you've got demand of 30 units of that product or service within a week. You can only deliver 10, but you're being requested 30. And if you don't solve this bottleneck very quickly, you're losing opportunities to grow your business. That's a bottleneck. I hope that's clear. Please put another thumbs up in the chat if that's clear. One of the ways to solve the bottleneck is by creating a system. Another way is to hire the right people to solve it for you. So what I did was I hired people, 2 production managers, because that was the point of my business that was eating up a lot of my time. A lot of my time was going into really going into delivering the service once I closed the deals. And it's like, okay, well, I can only speak to so many new customers on the phone, and I can only deliver so many orders by myself. And what I'm doing if I'm delivering orders is losing opportunities to make more money. But what I'm doing if I'm making more money is not serving my customers properly. So what do? I need to get competent people in to then do one of those 2 things for me. Now, I was the best salesperson in the business because all the money was brought in by me at that time. So I said, okay, well, the least risky thing to do in this situation to solve this bottleneck is to put some production managers in there who have capabilities that are beyond mine. So I hired 2 people to take care of the delivery side for me, so that I could then go and focus on more growth of the business, because there was already a proposition. I knew that it would work, and I kept a lot of data. I knew that 1/3 of everyone who inquires with me turns into a customer. I had data for 2 years at this point. 1/3. There was just no doubt about it. If you come into my pipeline, if you come into my funnel, there's a 1 in 3 chance you will pay me within 2 weeks. And I had it, so I had confidence. I said, okay, well, that's the most risky thing to give away to people at the moment. So let me give the production side away, and then I will focus on the growth side. Now, if you get the right people in, it's a dream, because then you can really focus on doing the parts of the business that you're really good, really, really competent at, really valuable at. So moving on to the next step, strategy and finance. Now I'd started to transition from, a sort of small 1-person business to this operation that was growing. And I needed to start to learn how to think more strategically and also put my finance hat on. So then what I would do is I would try to create structure within the business. I really focused on what can I measure at a high level so that I can keep tabs on the health of the business. Now, every business is made of 7 key components, right? You got your vision and strategy, you got marketing, sales, operations or service delivery, finance, people and culture, and legal. So I need to look and see, okay, what do each areas of the business look like? What does our budget look like? And what are we going to do in each areas of the business? What do we have capacity for? So I needed to start to come to think like more of an entrepreneur. So that's how I built my business brick by brick, and just by really paying attention to areas that the business is doing well and what the market is saying, and then trying to build the capabilities within the business that it needed as I was going. And bear in mind, I was doing all of this for the first time. I come from a poor family. I didn't come from money like that, so I didn't. I was really like learning as I was going. But I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of videos. I had a lot of entrepreneurs that I looked up to, that I followed. So I tried to take a leaf out of their books where I could. So I'm about to wrap up soon. Here's the thing: when you're starting a business, you need to really have a switch in mindset. It's not the same thing as having a job. It's absolutely different. And you might have caught me saying a bit earlier, there's having a skill, and then there's building a business that does the thing you're skilled at. There's being a cake maker, and then there's having a cake making business. There's being a child minder, and there's having a child minding business or a nursery. These are different things. They're different skill sets that you need to learn. And what you have to really understand is you have to see your business as a separate entity to you. You need to look at it as an operation that is separate to you. Think about McDonald's, right? Ray Kroc, who's the founder of McDonald's, or it was really the McDonald's brothers, but anyway, Ray Kroc, he couldn't possibly be physically in all the McDonald's stores. And the same goes for any franchise. They needed a set of systems and operations that people could be employed to perform to create the outcome, which is McDonald's and get served chips in 5 minutes. So, and that mindset is very different. It's a very, you have to come with a mindset of growth. You have to come with a mindset of really looking at it as, how do I build this machine, as opposed to how do I get all of these things done? How do I learn the skills that it takes to build that machine? So my key entrepreneurial mindset framework is, that one, most things are figure outable. Because when you're starting a business, you're going to be thrown challenges all the time that you didn't foresee, and you don't know how. Like, when you're given the challenge, you're not going to know how to solve it. And what you need to get really good at is solving foreign challenges very quickly and being comfortable with that. You need to learn how to get very comfortable with doing things that are uncomfortable, that really take you out of your comfort zone, and force you to acquire new skills and solve them. But you will be better for it. But whatever it is, don't be disheartened by challenges that come your way. Figure them out, solve them. They are solvable. You just got to put your mind to it. Next thing is, the system is the solution. It's systems that run your business and people, right? But if you've got good people and bad systems, then it's a matter of time until things collapse, right? You're gonna go through some issues. If you've got good systems and bad people, the culture of your business is going to be toxic, and you're going to encounter a whole different bag of issues. You're going to have, customers will have bad experiences. Your best team members might leave. Or team members who aren't necessarily the most skilled, but they're still good, might leave because your best team members, the highly skilled ones, aren't nice to them. They don't play nice with the other kids. So really ensure that you're looking at it from a systematic perspective. And if you've got good systems, then the input, whatever the input is, the output should be positive. Next thing is, ask really good who questions. Often the solution to whatever challenge is thrown at you is a who question. Who can do this for me? Who can make an introduction? Who can teach me how to do this? Who needs my services right now? Where do I find them? You'd be surprised what you can solve if you just ask the right who questions. And then overcoming limiting beliefs. Challenge beliefs that you have. I had a client that I was consulting with that thought that he couldn't make, $250,000 in sales for his wedding and videography company. I broke down the numbers to him. I said, listen, you've been self-employed full-time 1 year. You've made 60 grand in sales in your first year as an independent videographer, which is great. Why do you think you can't do that? Like, people are getting married all the time in the UK. What makes you think you can't do $250,000? Broke down the numbers to him on one of my big spreadsheets. And he goes, oh, wait, I didn't realize that. But now you show me the numbers, I know I can actually do it. So those are my sort of entrepreneurial mindsets that I'm giving to you that you should adopt if you want to go into business for yourself. Lastly, common pitfalls to avoid. Sorry. So, first one, not aligning roles properly. You need to make sure that the right people in your business are doing the right thing, right? If you've got people who aren't necessarily that good at public speaking, but they're amazing at customer service and all the things that happen in the back end, or they're great at administration, you need to put them there. Don't have people in your business doing things that they're not qualified for or they're not competent at. Second pitfall, not gathering data. What's not measured isn't managed. I used to gather data on as much as I possibly could. How many inquiries I got, how much website traffic, how much revenue I was generating, the ratio of revenue, the ratio of cash I was collecting to revenue. I tried to get as much data as I could, but the important data. Third thing, lack of clarity. If you're not clear on what you do, who you do it for, why you do it, and how you do it, it's a matter of time until everything comes crashing down. And then the fourth pitfall is oversubscription. If you're oversubscribed and you can't deliver on what's on the demand, if you don't find a way to resolve that very quickly, you could end up burning your reputation. You could end up burning out as an individual, and then you end up having to start again from scratch. So that's been my presentation, as it were, or my talk to you, my little group coaching session with you all. Income streams, pioneering business startups. I hope that's been useful. We've left some time for some questions, so I would love to hear if you have any questions, if you have any insights that you want to gather, or if you have anything that you would like to share with us. We have a little bit of time, so thank you all for tuning in and listening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chiesa. We could have done really with double the time, because I'm sure you had more meat on that bone for us to chew. But you know what? If you would like more information about what Chiesa has shared, just go to the brookfreedomnetwork.com. I'm sure it's in the chat. And you can use the discount code tonight of BFN Live 15. So again, we thank you so much, Chiesa, for spending your valuable time and sharing your nuggets with us. There are a few questions. I think there are 3 or 4. So someone is asking, it's anonymous, I am looking to transition from a 9-to-5 job to being self-employed. How easy would you say this process is, and what advice can you give?
That's a very good question. I think it really depends on the individual and what your circumstances are. So, for instance, if you're in a space where financially you're pretty sound, like you have an emergency fund, you've got a consistent income, and you're not really that concerned on a day-to-day basis about just keeping the lights on, it will be easier for you on a financial level and a psychological level, because you just kind of have certain things covered. The trouble you're going to find is finding time, because the lion's share of your time and energy is going to be spent at your 9-to-5 job, and you've still got to go through this process of finding your secret sauce, finding your customer, finding, when you get them, getting the actual product or service over to them. So that's really going to be a really big challenge. And if you're starting off in a 9-to-5, you need to make sure that whatever you're selling is profitable out front. You're probably going to need to do what's called bootstrapping. So for instance, if you've got a 9-to-5 but you're really good at braiding hair, you could bootstrap. You could get a few customers and then hire a chair on a Saturday. And then you've at the very least collected enough of a deposit to cover renting out the chair to do the hair. But it really depends on what business you're in. If you've got a business that is selling digital products, then it might not be that difficult to actually create the products. But then your challenge is going to be finding customers. Who's going to buy your products for you? How are you going to build an audience? How are you going to build trust? And then another one of the things could be accountability. Like, do you want to do this enough that when you don't feel like doing what is necessary to build your business after your job, are you still going to carry on? Are you still going to come home? Are you going to do your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5? And are you going to be consistent at it? Are you going to sacrifice, going to Nando's and going out with your friends and chatting on the phone late at night? Like there's a lot of sacrifices you need to make if you're going to go from 9 to 5 to full-time self-employment. Yeah. And there's a lot that could challenge you psychologically as well, because during that process, you might feel like this isn't working. It's 9 to 5 is easier. There's there doesn't seem to be any opportunities. Like, a lot can creep into your mind that will stop you from doing this. So it's like, it's really down to how much faith do you have and how much willpower. I will say, like, whether you're a believer or not, people who are founders and entrepreneurs have a great deal of faith, yes. Whether it's in themselves or whether it's in God. Like, when I was in the world and I was launching my businesses, I had for some reason, I just felt like, this has got to work out. And if it don't, then I'm going to deal with that at the end of it. But this is too compelling of an idea for me to have, that, like, this is how I know the sign of a real founder or business owner. Actually, if you can live with yourself not seeing it through to the end, it's probably not for you. Because every founder that I come across is someone who, they would have been sick to their stomach if they just gave up.
Yes.
So that's my...
Yeah, it becomes a driving force, doesn't it? It's almost like, I'm a mother of 5, so it's almost like birthing a child. You have got to see it through to the end, and you cannot let that baby die. When you transition, you've got to also know, do you have overheads that you have to cover, regular overheads? Because running your own business, I'm telling you right at the beginning, may not mean that you will get that stream flowing at all. So you're going to have I'm Jamaican. My mother used to say backative. You have to have backative money.
It's true. It's so true. And the thing is what, like, a lot of people, especially in the beginning, they don't recognize that. And I think I mentioned this already, right? Your business is a separate entity to you. It has its own finances. Yes. It has its own bank account.
Yes.
I did the cash flow forecast live 2 weeks ago. Try now, I've got a version of that for your business, I've got two. Like, even for me, like, as a self-employed person, my personal accounts and my business accounts are different. My business overheads are different to my personal ones. Like, and then you have to get into the mindset of that. You have to get into its own living organism.
Yes, it is.
And in the beginning, it is like a child. Like, it needs you to be there 24/7, for its waking hours, because no one else is there. You need to
need spoon feeding. Yeah,
it needs it, and if you're not prepared to do that and see it through to the end, where it can stand on its own 2 feet and at least walk, I really say, I used to actually tell people, when it comes to business, I'm a demotivational speaker. I will tell you not to do it before I tell you to do it.
Yeah, and
if you still don't listen to me, it might be for you. But if you're going to go 9 to 5 to full-time self-employed, be prepared that you're going to be working more,
yes,
for a period of time, and be okay with that.
Yeah,
because at the end of it, when people and systems are doing the work for you, then it's sweet. But you don't deserve that if you don't go through the earlier part.
If you don't go through the motions yourself, and not only that, even if, like, for instance, I used to make wedding dresses, right? And yes, I can sew, and yes, I've done all of that, but my best time wasn't actually spent doing the sewing. So I would employ people to actually do that. But what happens if my seamstress, as skilled as they are, makes a tragic mistake? I've got to be able to see that mistake. I've got to know what they know, even if they know how to do it better than I do. And that's the thing when it comes to being self-employed. And also, there's no one to mop your forehead. When you're sick, you still got to go into work. You still got to supply to your customer. There is no sick day. So you've got to be a pioneer, really. You've got to be a mountain climber to become self-employed. It's very different to a 9 to 5.
And just the last point as well, one of the things I really, really had to learn, and I wish I learned it sooner, is that when you become a business owner and things start to work, the second biggest skill you have to have is recruitment.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to identify the projects, tasks, and roles that need to be fulfilled in your business, and you need to get the right people to fill those roles quickly. And if you get recruitment wrong, you're finished. you're absolutely finished. Because even if the person's doing a good job, they might bring a toxic culture into your organization that they don't fit there.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't get recruitment right, then you risk bad outcomes for your clients or customers, or negative outcomes, unsatisfactory outcomes. You risk toxic work cultures. You might have someone who's they're good at the job, but they're always late. And so they let you down, and then it affects your reputation and your mental health. Because here's the thing: they're gonna make all these mistakes, and they still want to get paid on payday. You know, they're still on the 25th of the month. They're still gonna message you at 9 a.m. like, "Oh, what time?"
Yeah.
But then if you say to them, "Listen, like you need to replace that wedding dress. It cost me £300. That mistake that you made." Them, oh, what?
Yeah.
So,
Is it covered by insurance? Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
So if you don't get really good at recruitment, taking people through a process of really getting to assess who they are as a character and how their skills are. Some people might have really good character and the skills aren't there yet, but you can teach them.
Yeah.
But you can't teach them character.
No.
So if they got really good skills and bad character, then you're going to make a bad hire, and that is going to set you back. So you need to get very, very good at recruitment.
Yeah. And what would you say about using platforms like Fiverr?
I use it. I used it today.
Oh, wow.
I used it today. I needed something done very quickly, and I hired the guy today, and he's 80% done with the job today. Wonderful. I hired another guy on Fiverr 2 weeks ago. He was great at the first job and rubbish at the second job, because the second job is slightly different. Yeah. So this time around, when it came to hiring someone on Fiverr for a small little project I needed done, I just went through a process again. I said, okay, this is exactly what I need done. I wrote out a very comprehensive brief. Everything was for a website project. And then I put the call out. I attracted all the candidates, and I looked at who's responding to me fast, who's got 5-star reviews, who's got the most reviews that are 5 stars, who's quoting me good prices, who can do it quickest. And I went for the guy that ticked all the boxes, and it was perfect decision.
Wonderful. And that's really good, because platforms like that actually frees up your time so that you, the creator, you, the driving force, can then maybe work on another higher project that will bring you in something else. So it's learning to delegate as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you get good at delegation and you create systems for it. So even when I was giving the example of my process, right? I get a client for the merch. I do a job spec. I do a detailed, comprehensive spec of what needs to be done. You approve it, and then we approve it. Cool. That's a set of instructions. After that, if something goes wrong, it's someone else's head on the chopping block. It's either my supplier, my staff, or I've had cases where the customer said that they got the order wrong. I said, look at the spec. This is what you approved, and here's a 3-minute video, audio recording of our phone conversation of you approving it too, to cover yourself. So, you can delegate more effectively when you have a process, because then you can give people all the information that they need up front. So the 5 people that I just hired, I gave them everything they needed up front, so there's no confusion. And then I have a detailed process for project managers, etc., that I work with on the back end when I'm doing my website projects and branding. So if something goes wrong, then I'm gonna know where it was. That makes delegation a lot easier for me, because I have a spec of what needs to be done, who needs to be the person to do it, when is it due, what's the budget, and just eliminate any confusion. And that's
really good. But then obviously you have an analytical mind as well as a creative one, which is quite unusual for a creative to also be analytical. What about the people that are just creative and all they want to do is produce and create?
Same thing, recruitment. Can you find a partner or a business manager or someone to fill the gap? If not everyone needs to have an analytical mind, but you need to be good at choosing the right people.
Okay, wonderful.
That's true of life in general.
Yeah, it is.
That's just true of marriage partners, business partners, whatever partner.
Okay, so Tech has just reminded me that we've got several questions coming in. So the next one is, how do you deal with employees that have the knowledge but is trying to take over and doesn't give the other team players space to grow?
Oh, this is HR. You gotta put your hand on their shoulder and have a conversation. I think it depends on what you mean by have the knowledge. Like, knowledge of what? Knowledge of the thing that your business is doing, or I need to understand that a bit more. But I think when you say trying to take over, like they're trying to kind of pull their weight, or the example I use is when they're the football player on the field, but they don't pass the ball to anyone else.
Yeah.
You have to speak to them privately first, and kind of get them to acknowledge, like, get them to basically explain their thinking and their behavior, and demonstrate to them that, listen, this is a challenge for the rest of the team members. Give them an opportunity to correct themselves, because some people don't realize how they're being yet, and you need to work that out. Like, because if it's a thing of you're doing it on purpose to rub people up the wrong way, you need to go because you're trying to be toxic.
Yeah.
If it's a thing of, you know what, the way that I am being is harming other team members, but I'm not aware, then I can work with that. Because if you got self-awareness and you said, you know, I didn't realize that I was being like that with people, so I'm going to make a change, and I can see that demonstrated, then that's fine. And if they don't change after you've acknowledged, after you've had that conversation, then you have to decide how you're going to deal with that, which might lead to dismissal.
Yeah. Right. The other question I think you touched on a little bit, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How do you develop effective delegation?
Get very clear on what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and when it needs to be done. You start with that. Then you translate those things into a task or a project or an assignment or a role. So you create a job description, a project brief, or an assignment brief that clearly outlines what needs to be done, what outcomes are expected, the timeline, the budget, and the spec of the person who needs to do it.
Wonderful. Well, John Mark likes that response. He says, that's a good response. Well done, Chiesa. Okay. Last question. What do you do when you have hired the wrong person?
You've got to turn into Alan Sugar.
You're fired.
Yeah, I think.
Well, the thing is, with so much legislation these days, it's not easy to be an Alan Sugar.
You got to get in front of that. I mean, okay, have you hired them as a 0 hours employee? Have you hired them as a part-time, full-time employee? What did your contract say? What were the notice periods? Are they a freelance contractor? The thing with freelance contractors, they might cost you more, but you don't have as many obligations.
That's right.
And if you're going to employ anyone, you have to get in front of understanding employment laws. This is one of the responsibilities you pick up. Like, before you were making cakes, now you're hiring people. Sorry, you have to go on gov.uk and learn. You just got to learn. But so long as you get in front of the issue, you're less likely to make that mistake in the first place. If you have hired the wrong person, then again, have a conversation. Just talk to them first about, okay, why this might not have been. I had to have a conversation with one of my staff and say, do you know what, you're great, but this role isn't right for you, and that was my mistake. You haven't run a commercial shop floor factory like this before, and I put you in this situation that is overwhelming. You're a great craftsperson, but you're not the best manager of this situation, and that was my fault. I should have got someone with more experience here. That was a conversation that I had with that person, and that was actually my fault. And they understood it as well, because I saw that, okay, this is causing friction, and we decided to change her role.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't always get rid of people; you just realign.
You just move them into something else.
And then but it depends on why they're the wrong person. Is it because you hired them wrong? Is it because they're doing the wrong role? If you move them somewhere else, they'll thrive there. You got to figure out what it is and have a conversation about it, and then decide what you both want.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much to our guest, Chiesa. It's been wonderful, and the comments have been really lovely. Everyone likes what you're doing and what we've been discussing. If you would like more of this kind of level of information and nuggets to help you, not just in business, but in the business of life, also mindset and so forth, because everything is underpinned with mindset, then please go to brookfreedomnetwork.com. We also have several free sections on there, so we're not all about money. There are several free sections on there. There is a BFN blog that you can sign in and sign up to join, and it's free. And all of our team members, Chiesa is now a team member of the BFN, all of us periodically will be in there dropping some nuggets for you. So get stuck in, see what we're all about. Contact us if you would like more information. Remember to use your code BFN Live 15, and we will see you again 7 o'clock next week, the 19th of February, where we will have award-winning business coach, Janice Beckles from B Consultancy. Thank you so much. Good night.